Welcome back to another election edition of Meet Victoria with Caleb Shaw, powered by ThriveFuel Digital Marketing. Early voting is April 25th through May 3rd, and Election Day is May 7th. I'm excited today because I finally get to have my friend on here, and it's not because he's running for office. He doesn't have to sit in the hot seat and get grilled and answer all the ridiculous questions I always come up with. But I'm glad you're here, and we have a,
sure, thanks for having me.
Super interesting, I was kind of glancing through this, and this is just awesome and super exciting stuff here that we're about to get into, these charter amendments. And I'm being a little sarcastic.
I know,
but
it's pretty dry, and I remember when we talk about these, I can't give you my opinion on them.
Gotcha.
I can only give you the facts on them.
Yes, sir.
And what they are.
And I might have just blown right past it. Please introduce yourself for the 3 people in town that don't know who you are.
I'm Jeff Bauknight, the mayor and small business owner here in town.
Good deal. And these are, for those that don't know, and I will admit I was one of these people when I started seeing the voter guide, and I thought, by the way, the city did a great job on this. I think Ashley,
this one right here.
These voter guides that you can, same thing I got. I think she did a great job on those. I like her little videos on stuff. She the city council reviews.
Oh, the recaps are great.
Yeah, those they're awesome. And
a little humor in it. And
yeah, it keeps it flowing.
Yeah.
And as somebody that tries to do stuff like that, I respect it. And she does a good job there. And so I just wanted,
a great team.
I wanted to lift her up on that. And
a bunch of Aggies, by the way.
Oh well, shit, dang, was that good or bad?
That's good.
Okay, all right. I didn't know which side of the fence you were going to fall on with that. I couldn't remember. So, but on that thing, this city charter guide, admittedly, when it came out, I didn't know much about it, and I kind of looked real quick, and it seemed like these are some of the rules on the book, so to speak, some of them really old that needed to be updated, but I didn't see at first glance, we're not voting on things per se, we're not, I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say, we're not changing big laws, but we're updating.
A lot of it is updating the city charter. The first 2 are going to deal with just updating it to meet state law. Our charter's just fallen behind when state laws changed.
What is a charter?
A charter is it's like your bylaws for your city.
Okay.
If you think in the terms of a corporation, it's your bylaws.
Okay.
It's how you operate. So some of them in here, term limits is one of the propositions. Talks about 4 consecutive terms in any one seat. So you can jump around seats if you
terms
want.
Of 3 years? Or 4?
3. So it's 12 years total.
Got it. That's a pretty liberal or pretty lengthy.
Yes. And other ones, are just bringing us up into the internet age where we can file things digitally or post things digitally. They don't have to be particularly on the paper or something like that. We can post ordinances and stuff like that, which we do already, but it's just not in our charter.
Got it.
Some other things are, we have one in there that deals with just how does the mayor pro tem get elected and for how long, because currently it's, you get elected and you serve the remainder of your term. So Miss Solis was finishing up hers last spring, her term, when Mayor McCoy passed away. Mm-hmm. So she assumed his roles, and the role had always been, up to that point, really honorary. And we tried to rotate it around as much as possible. So everybody would have a chance to run a meeting at some point.
Right, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the thought was we wanted it just in 1-year terms, maybe, so that we could have that opportunity to roll it around to everybody. When she got reelected in the spring, we didn't want to change Mayor Pro Tem at that time because she was already filling in for Mayor McCoy. We'd have to get someone else up to speed. Then there'd be a special election in 6 weeks, and it just didn't make a lot of sense not to reelect her. But now she's reelected for another 3 years, and it's going to, she's done a fantastic job, and I know it was very, very time-consuming on her. When Mayor McCoy passed, we'd like the ability really just to have the option to go year to year.
Mm-hmm. No, I can see the wisdom in that, and because that was a tumultuous period. There was a lot of first you had to deal with it and just recognize that it happened, and oh my gosh, and then figure it all out from there, and so no, I like that, and this can remove a lot of the confusion as you can just, well, what are the rules, and fall back to that, and the term limit thing. I think that's something that people will key in on, and my first glance is, 4 consecutive terms sounds like a lot. Would this, if it kicked in right now, would this be the last term of anybody? Has anybody reached that
Yes. Right now it'd probably affect Ms. Solis and Dr. Young.
Okay.
But the way it's written in here, the clock starts if this gets voted in.
Got it. Okay, so their previous doesn't apply.
And the only other person I know that has gone 12 years, I think, is Mr. Halapaska. Okay. I can't think of anybody else.
Most people learn their lesson after that time. They're like, man, I'm out of here.
So when I finish this term, I'll be 12 years as well, because I'd already served 8 on city council, and then.
Does your timer start anew when you take a new, since you're a councilman?
Yes, it would. According to this charter amendment proposed change, it would start over, so you could go from a council seat to a regular district to a super district or to the mayor's seat, and you could start the clock over again.
I got it. You know, in theories, at first discussion, I'm all for term limits. Like I get the reason, but then in the same breath, you don't want them to be so short that somebody gets in there, and I would, not ever being in you all's position, I would assume there's a pretty steep learning curve. I would assume that there's a lot that comes at you really, really fast, and that the entry into a lot of it is just trying not to drown and figure out what the heck you're doing. And so and then it seems like about the time, if you're not careful with term limits, that you get your legs under you and you get it all figured out, then if you make them too short, you're getting booted out of there, you know? And so I kind of like term limits, but I do like them stretched out a little bit.
Yes, I can give you my opinion on term
and I'm
limits,
sorry, I keep forgetting. You warned me right up front.
Today,
yeah, no, and you know what? That's a good question in itself. Why can you not give your opinion on that? I'm just so people understand why you can't.
Just as an elected member of the board that it would affect, I don't think it's ethical, or I don't even think it's legal that I can give you my opinion on how you should vote on all these.
Got it.
All we can do is put them in front of the voters, explain them. This voter's guide does a great job. It says what are the effects if it passes and what if it fails.
Yep.
And it just steps through that, so everybody has a pretty clear and concise idea of what each one's going to take care of.
And I went through it, and I kind of glanced at these, and I didn't. Nothing jumped out at me as these seem like good procedural things. These seems like good updates, getting the books clean and all that. But nothing jumped out at me as for lack of better terms, controversial or, potentially, messy in the sense of if we get this, people are going to be mad. I mean, I didn't see anything controversial or.
Right, there's some weird ones though, like long-term leasing of parkland. Currently, you can only lease inside a park for 20 years, and we felt like it hasn't hamstrung us now. But what if someone wanted to come in, and I use this example, and wants to put in a water park? Are they going to be okay with the 20-year lease?
Yeah, because they'll a lot of times do longer leases.
Longer leases, so you can amortize it over a longer period of time, right? So we felt like just as a tool in the war chest of economic development, we wanted to extend it. Is the thinking behind that.
Are you breaking on our show that there's a water park coming to?
No.
No, dang. All right, man, I almost for a second I was like, yeah, no.
No. There's not any talk of it at all. I just use it as an example of why.
That was bad joke. But no, I other than stuff like that, like I said, I didn't really see anything more than a lot of just procedural stuff.
Right, and Proposition F came about. It says what to do if the mayor and mayor pro tem are both absent. That happened after Raleigh McCoy passed, and Ms. Solis was unable to make a meeting. Well, who runs the meeting?
Good point.
It's not really in Robert's Rules of Order. There's a little bit of verbiage around it, but we didn't have anything in our charter, so this would just add, into our charter that the most senior member of City Council would run the meeting.
I like that too, because that can quell any, I've decided that I'm going to take this spot since nobody else has stepped up and the mayor's not here. I'll go ahead and take this. And I can say, no, let's just go to the charter.
Yeah, it's in there. The same, we had one, and I think the committee that reviewed this did an excellent job. I want to, give their names. It was led by Michael Atkinson. J.P. Hull was on there. Dwayne Crocker was on there before he was elected to City Council, and he stayed to finish the work.
Good.
And then there's Tony Kniebel, Jeb Lacey, and Decatur Joseph, and they put in 2-3 hour meetings, a number of them, going through all the sections in the charter with our city attorney, and we had some outside counsel that specializes in all the city charters across the state of Texas. He led the discussions, but everybody talked through every items. Of course, they brought these to council, and council had to approve to put them on the ballot.
I'm glad we have people willing to do these things.
Yes.
Because that, if you want to like describe hell to me, that sounds like, hey, go sit over here and read this book of charter and amendments and like that.
And everybody on there, from my understanding, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
They found it fascinating.
These are smart people. And
Yeah.
I look at this list. This is not an unwise group of people
Yes.
right here. This is some smart people, and I could actually see a few of them probably liking this stuff
Yes.
too, just because they're smart like that. You know, whereas
Yeah.
my squirrel factor ADD would kick in, and I'd be gone about the second paragraph. You know, but that is I'm actually very grateful. All joking aside, that people do. Because it's a team effort, you know,
Yes.
and without the people to do this, then the ball doesn't roll forward to get to you guys, to get to the community to vote on it.
Right. Yeah, they
all
did a
of
great
that.
job.
And I doubt they all got. There weren't big fat paychecks written to do this either.
It was
I'm
all
guessing,
volunteer.
You know, and that's yeah, good
So-
for them, because that's time out of their homes and families
Right.
and all of that to volunteer on some really super duper exciting stuff.
Right, and then, you know, what came up because of the pandemic, I think, in their discussions was what happens if we lost the majority of the council members to some natural disaster or pandemic or
Which could
whatever?
happen.
How do you reconstitute government?
Yes, sir.
There's provisions for it in the U.S. Constitution, and we know how to do that federally, but locally we didn't have it in the charter, so there's a proposition that deals with how do you reconstitute if you've lost a quorum.
Good. No, you know, people, that's one of the things that when, you know, like COVID and all that we see a lot of times we're not prepared for either mass casualty events or just bad events in general. I remember after Harvey, you know, the very next day, there was like a 1.5 mile food line at the community center, you know, and it seems like a lot of times we're so behind the curve, and it can happen like that. I mean, and it wouldn't be uncommon, you know, just say council decides to go on a trip and something happened. Well,
right.
That's, you know, it sucks to think about, but it's a realistic possibility. And so I appreciate these things, and I'm glad that you guys are doing them, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk about them. We got a couple minutes left. Is there anything new or exciting in the community that going on? Oh, I have a question for you. Well, not a question, but I kind of wanted to give you an opportunity to explain for probably the 10 millionth time to a lot of people. Medians, real quick.
Okay.
That was not City of Victoria. I keep seeing all over
Correct.
Facebook, you know, they're spending our tax dollars on medians. And I hate them. I hate them.
I don't
me
like them
personally.
either.
Two things. One, TxDOT did this, right? Was it
TxDOT, yes,
And
they looked at the two highways and determined that because of our traffic crashes as well as pedestrian incidents and fatalities, that these two stretches were very dangerous, and their theory behind the medians is that it allows Navarro to carry more traffic, and it also makes it safer for that traffic on there. Now, we have some preliminary crash data, so we don't have enough crash data yet to determine if their theory is right. They said it's worked elsewhere. And,
did we have any say-so, or were we told? Like,
they came with their plans. There was some input. They had some forums, but where it just adversely affected businesses. So I know in front of a business by the name of Jet Maintenance, they have really long float trucks with their equipment, and they don't want to come through town. They're on the south side or east side of 59, and they would have to come through town if there was a median in front of their property. They'll have to come off the loop, come down 59 and take a left into their facility. At first, that cut wasn't in there. It's in there now because, I mean, if we're talking about safety and you're going to put a bunch of 18-wheelers with extra long floats on them coming through town, that didn't make any sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know, I go back, I want to say I understand why they did it, but I also, like, every intersection that I'm sitting at, as soon as that, I mean, it's daily at every single intersection. All of a sudden, here comes the U-turn, and here comes the right, and everybody just starts honking and flipping each other off and yelling and screaming. But beyond that, it seems like it's affected the businesses a lot, because I'll just use myself as, if I can't turn left into that, I'm not gonna go way past that building and turn around, and it's altered our shopping behaviors in the sense of, like, even my wife yesterday, she was coming home from somewhere, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna stop and get, I think it was Uncle Mutt there.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute, I don't wanna do that. And she's sitting there trying to figure out how to get there, because and I know that there's a reconditioning period and a readjustment period, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to that, because I think you guys take a lot of heat, and that's just not something that you all did. And so I just wanted to clarify that.
I argued, I was on council, of course, when this was going on, I argued against it from the fact that, you take a 3/4 ton truck, 1 ton, full size, it's very, very difficult to make that U-turn.
Barely makes it.
Right?
Barely makes it.
So what happens is some people, it gets pushed off to the residential streets that border Navarro. I said, how is that safer for our community if we're pushing traffic off of Navarro and putting it through a residential street where there could be kids playing, riding bikes?
Yes, sir. Do we
It
have
makes
any
no sense to me.
recourse? Let's say, because right now we don't have that preliminary crash data, and I know it's a lot harder to take things away, but let's say in 2 years or what have you that all of our crash data has gone up. It hasn't worked. Will tech's not coming to take those things out?
I don't know, but I will be there to make the argument.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you for that. And
I mean, I don't miss, people taking that left onto Navarro and hanging out in the suicide lane.
either.
I don't
Me
miss that part, but the inconvenience is difficult.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you being frank about that and being honest about it. And again, it's been nice to have you on here as the mayor instead of having to be a candidate. And so thank you for all that you're doing and for being accessible and all that. Is there anything I'm forgetting before we let you go?
No, but the big thing is, we're not going to do Boot Fest this year.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have all our efforts geared towards a bicentennial celebration in 2024. So we'll be 200 years. We got lots to celebrate about Victoria. I'm really excited about it. We're starting to kick off that program now to get everything planned. And so that's
keep us
big
in the
thing.
loop. We'd love to have you come back
bet.
on and talk about things as they develop and get going. And thanks for all you guys are doing, and thanks for serving our community, because I wouldn't want to do like you. God bless you.
Well, you're serving our community with a program just like this.
Well, thank you. I get to go home
good.
and I don't have to answer everybody's calls all day. And I'll light you guys up when I don't agree with something or I don't.
Sure,
but I respect what you're doing, and I don't want to do it myself. And so thank you for the time away from your family and all of that to serve your community.
Thanks. We all enjoy it.
Yes, sir.
Really
Well, you do a good job, and thank you so much.
Thanks.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. We will catch you at the next one. Early voting is April 25th through May 3rd. Election day is May 7th. We'll see you at the next one, guys.